Hello, folks. Welcome back to the program. This is Chris in Central Pennsylvania. President Donald Trump's executive order from the 7th of February, 2025, recognizing the Afrikaner community in South Africa as a distinct group, also recognizing from his perspective that it is a group of people who are under threat from unjust racial persecution, discrimination, and offering refugee status to people who are not technically refugees to come to the United States under the resettlement program, has created quite a stir and a ruckus across South Africa, especially in the mainstream media, which have been rubbishing the story, and social media critics and politicians claiming that it's fake, it's not genuine, and that no South Africans are interested. Nothing could be further from the truth. Again, I'm not an advocate for a single person leaving South Africa to migrate to America under this program. I'm also not opposing it. I'm simply reporting objectively on the facts here. The executive order doesn't mention farmers, and it doesn't mention white South Africans. It mentions Afrikaners without defining who Afrikaners are. My definition of Afrikaners is far broader than many South Africans. We will see what the U.S. State Department and Homeland Security determine the definition of Afrikaners to be. But in the meantime, a group that is trying to help with advocacy known as the Amerikaners has released a press release today, the 25th of March, 2025. I'm going to read this press release and highlight some of the key parts of their press release. South African minority refugees deliver a memorandum to Washington accepting U.S. refugee offer. Pretoria. The claim that South African minorities wish to remain in South Africa is false. The organization Amerikaners, which advocates for South Africa's persecuted ethnic minority, has gathered overwhelming support from tens of thousands who seek resettlement in the United States. Now, this comes on the heels of the South African Chamber of Commerce USA, who has nothing to do with immigration, but was inundated by people seeking information, turned a list of 67,042 names over to the U.S. Embassy in South Africa. The Amerikaners have now delivered a list of over 27,000 names. There are no doubt some duplicate names on both of those lists, but nonetheless, it is a significant number of people that have been turned over. Now, the U.S. State Department and Population Resettlement Program will not necessarily rely on that information, but it does send us pretty significant signal. If you're interested in the program, you need to write to the U.S. Embassy at the email address that appears on the screen and in the description of the video below if you would like to express your interest in this program when it becomes available. The Afrikaners memorandum to Washington, signed by over 27,000 ordinary South Africans in only 2 weeks, is clear evidence that many are eager to leave South Africa. The document was hand-delivered to the U.S. Embassy in Pretoria on the 24th of March for delivery to President Trump, Secretary Marco Rubio, and Secretary Kristi Noem. Despite media reports stating that South Africans have rejected the U.S. refugee offer, the reality is vastly different. Mainstream outlets have failed to represent the voices of those who are suffering under disproportionate violence, systemic economic exclusion, discriminatory policies, and the looming threat of expropriation without compensation. These issues were explicitly recognized in President Trump's executive order, which defines such policies as grounds for refugee protection. Amerikaners, a grassroots movement, has been actively informing, organizing, and connecting those seeking to leave South Africa, and the demand for U.S. resettlement is undeniable and growing rapidly. We are looking for a new home where we can live in safety and dignity. The U.S. has extended an offer, and likely hundreds of thousands, if not well over 1 million, will gratefully accept this offer, says Sam Busa, the founder of Amerikaners. Now, it is true that the mainstream media have been rubbishing this, and people have been lying to South Africans and gaslighting them with a host of fairy tales, including the fact that if you go to America, you'll be discriminated against. Utter nonsense. Refugees are treated with great grace, dignity, and financial support by the U.S. government to the tune of over $2.7 billion annually to support non-governmental organizations helping refugees resettle in America with employment services, with translation and qualifications of educational standards and professional certifications so that you see if you match for employment in the States, as well as counseling and assistance in getting Social Security numbers, a driver's license, insurance, medical care, and things like that. So it's a lie. You will not be staying in FEMA tents. That's a fairy tale created by hateful people in South Africa seeking to dissuade you. Again, I'm not trying to encourage you, but I won't lie to you like many people in South Africa are doing, and neither will these folks. The U.S. refugee program for South African minorities is an in-country program, meaning applicants do not need to flee to another country before seeking protection. Now, that's an important distinction, folks. It's a rare opportunity for a group that's being persecuted to give an in-country status. Cuba and Bosnia and Herzegovina are two examples of where we've done this in the past. Normally, to be considered for refugee status, you must have fled from a conflict or persecution in your country to a safe haven in a neighboring state. In this case, Namibia, Eswatini, Lesotho, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, or Botswana. You'd have to flee there and then go and seek refugee status, and then wait and wait and wait for your claim to be processed and go to a country. 7.6 million Africans are currently on waiting list to be resettled after fleeing from Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, and elsewhere in Africa. Details on the application process have yet to be released. We've repeatedly stated that, and people are impatient, but they need to be patient. This must be done correctly. Otherwise, it could be disastrous. Amerikaners is dedicated to ensuring that when the process opens, all eligible individuals will have the necessary information and the support to apply. Correcting the record. The Amerikaners community urges the media and policymakers to listen to the voices of the people rather than rely on disinformation of the media. The claim that South Africans are rejecting resettlement is a manufactured narrative that does not reflect the reality on the ground. I can tell you personally, not just anecdotally, that I'm well aware of this. I have now answered well over 85,000 questions from South Africans and new South Africans who've been coming in. My viewership of my channel has skyrocketed because I've delivered objective, honest, cogent, fair, and unbiased reporting on this subject, which is something media and South African politicians are not doing. The organization calls on the U.S. government to finalize and release the refugee application process as soon as possible as tensions in South Africa intensify. Meanwhile, South Africans who are interested in the program are encouraged to stay informed through Amerikaners.com and social media channels. I would say yes, social media channels, but I would caution you that social media channels are part of the problem why South Africans are so misled. They're being told that they'll starve, that they'll be racially mistreated, which is odd given America is a majority white country and the people that in question presumably are mostly white people who come here. Also being told to be staying in FEMA tents, that they'd be giving up everything. These are lies and distortions. And I encourage you to pay attention to my channel where you're given objective facts and join the Telegram group where we share only verified information from U.S. Department of State, the American Embassy, from the administration, from the White House, and my analysis. And that's all you get there. It is a receive-only mode Telegram group. The WhatsApp groups are full, so you're not going to be able to get into those. Anyway, folks, that's the press release from the Amerikaners. So we've now had 67,000 names turned in by South African Chamber of Commerce USA, 27,000 turned in by these guys, so 67, and that's 87, 94,000 names there. As of last week, we knew that 30,000 people had directly expressed interest to the embassy. That takes you to close to 130,000 individuals when you consider a family size. Many people are single, some people are widows or widowers, some people have 7 kids, 5 kids, whatever. You take an average size from statistics standpoint of 4 for each head of household. You take that 130,000 times 4, and you've got yourself quite a crowd, 540,000 people who've expressed interest. A lot of people are afraid to express interest. A lot of people don't even know about this because it's being covered up and distorted by the media. I am not encouraging anybody to leave South Africa. You stay in South Africa, that's your business, and I'm perfectly fine with that. If you come to America, you deserve to hear the truth, not the lies being perpetrated by fake media. Amerikaners has got their press release out. They've turned their list in now to the embassy, as has the South African Chamber of Commerce. Please stay tuned for more details. We'll keep you updated as things progress. Cheers, folks.